question is human structures and bases on the moon and Mars. So, and the question is, like, we know that these structures are there.
Right.
We've seen the images. We have the whistleblowers, but was there a human base on Mars that was destroyed by ETs or by somebody else?
Well, my understanding is that there are ancient structures and remnants of an ancient presence on Mars and the moon, but there are also more recent structures that are the result of the fact, going back now to that we have had electrogravitic and the ability to move very quickly without a rocket through our solar system since the mid 1950s. That there very well could be assets. I know there are on the moon. So we know that from Carl Wolf. Some of them were very ancient, but there were some new looking structures. I don't think those new ones are ET. I think those new ones are human, which would make sense if you have that capability. Now, one of our witnesses also knew a Navy SEAL who has not come forward, who was part of a team, and he would call a hyper jump for 2 weeks at a time to a facility on the moon. So, I've heard those sort of accounts. It would make sense that we would, since we have the technology, that this covert clandestine group would do that. But I think when you look at those images, the ancient ones often get mixed up with the newer ones. I think the newer ones are not extraterrestrial. I think the newer ones are most likely human. I do know that out by the rings of Saturn, that both a senior executive with Lockheed Martin at the headquarters out there outside DC and Maryland called me up back when the Cassini probe was going out, and they were the prime contractors, and they filtered out before NASA saw them this footage of a massive extraterrestrial floating base. It was out by the rings. It wasn't there in the planet. That was huge. I mean, it sounded like it was many miles across. I also have a member of my team who had been at NORAD, and back there was a Console 50 that was used to track the Deep Space Network, and they had tracked a massive extraterrestrial base. You could say it's a craft, but my understanding is a huge base, many, many miles across. One of them indicated something on the order of several hundred miles across, like a small moon, that had craft within it. And that was out by Saturn also. And then the final data point was that the top scientist at the Naval Research Labs was friends with a 4-star general who had come out of a briefing where he had been shown these same images, and he was white as a ghost. And that the head of the Naval Research Labs, Rick Foch, was the highest scientist there. He was not the director of the lab. He would be like the third down, but he was the top scientist there. He said absolutely that is real, and that this 4-star general confirmed that to him. He didn't see it, but the 4-star did. So yeah, I mean, there are these sort of ET assets. They're very large. That's why back in '92, I turned to General Stubblebine when he was first trying to buy me off with $2 billion and then threaten me. I said, look, you have your plan, and there's another plan. There's a divine plan. There's an interstellar plan. And I'll tell you, when the day is done, which one's going to prevail. And it won't be yours. I mean, you know how I am, Michael. I just said right to his face.
Oh, yeah. We've met.
Yeah, we've met. So, that's not a myth. I've had 3 very reliable, we're probably a very senior executive at Lockheed Martin, this scientist at Naval Research Labs, right? And a military advisor for years who had been in the compartmented console area where they were doing deep space network monitoring out of Cheyenne Mountain for NORAD in Colorado Springs, who also had it confirmed to him that on that console, by the way, that area was so sensitive that at the outside wall of it, if someone even leaned on that wall, guards with M16s and attack German Shepherds would come out. And these are people cleared to be in NORAD. So it was a very tightly held area. And we have a man on our team who was in there and saw that decades ago.
We have another fantastic question. So this one is, with all of these horrible events that have been happening lately, the extreme wildfires, hurricanes,